Hello every pony, Corpulent Brony here. How's it going, man? We have a new pony episode, and I wanted to come at you and talk a little bit about what I saw and what I thought. I thought this would be a good way to do it. I did my prior video on amending fences. I spent a great deal of time on that video. I worked really, really hard. Nobody watched it, so why put time into this, I'm going to try to make this super easy on me and super easy on you guys to watch as well. Okay, another reason why I chose to do it in this format is because I got some new toys. I got a pair of binaural microphones, which is why it looks like I'm wearing headphones, but actually I'm wearing microphones. And hopefully that'll make the video sound a little different, maybe a little better, who knows, a little worse, I don't know. I've never used them before in a video, so I figured, why not give it a try, see what you guys think, see what I think. I already tried to make this video driving, but I had the levels all off and it was super loud and it was clipping all over the place and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't voice that stuff upon you guys. So here I am doing it in a much quieter environment with my levels set, I think, perfectly. We'll see how it works. So, to the episode, to the pony. Hearthbreakers, okay? Hearthbreakers by Nick Conflone. The first wintry episode we've had since the one where Dash ruined winter. But let's ignore timelines and seasons making sense. As Conflone said in the podcast we did with him on Equestria Confidential, he is a little, time is not really linear. Or maybe it was Larson, I don't know. Someone said that. Time obviously doesn't make any sense in the pony world. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. I can't. Conflone said that this episode was going to be a nice mix of sort of our holiday traditions along with pony traditions. And I think he did a pretty good job here. I think what we see in the episode is some really kind of cool traditions. I love the dolls at the beginning with Twilight and Spike. I thought those were super cute. In the same vein as the Smarty Pants doll, Spike's Rarity doll, and I guess Buster or whoever Shining Armor's doll was. That was a cool thing to see. We have Pinkie Pie coming down the chimney just like Santa Claus. Who wouldn't want to see Pinkie Pie coming down their chimney on Christmas morning? You're going to be in for one hell of a Christmas party, right? Am I right? The whole Applejack Pinkie Pie relationship, though, it seems really a little bit contrived. I mean, we saw a bit of it in Pinkie Apple Pie last season, but they're not really any closer, it seems to me, than any of the other main six. It doesn't really make sense to me why all of a sudden they'd be like besties. I liked seeing, we finally got to see Pinkie's family on the rock farm. We got to meet Limestone Pie and Marble Pie and her parents, Igneous Rock, and I don't know. I always forget her mom's name. Sorry. So we got to see that dynamic, their familial dynamic, directly in comparison with the Apple family dynamic, which up until this point, whenever there's like a family episode or something touching on family issues, they've always turned to the Apple family because they're the biggest family, I guess. Almost all episodes dealing with family are the Apples. So it's interesting to see that, hey, we've got this Pie family now we can sort of leverage, at least in this episode. It's kind of cool. I liked the lesson behind the episode about respecting others' traditions, even though at the beginning, both Pinkie Pie and Applejack thought, hey, we got the same traditions. They went through them all. Yeah, it's the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. Obviously, it's pretty predictable. They're not actually going to be the same in the end. And that is exactly what we saw. They weren't the same. The lesson there being you've got to sort of observe, you don't want to be critiquing someone's traditions or trying to foist yours upon them. It's much better to sort of share, and you will eventually come up with some sort of melding of the traditions. As anyone who's ever been in a mixed family knows, this is how it works. And in fact, if you've never had the experience of going someone's house for the holidays, you'll find that it's an amazing experience to have. And I really recommend spending the holidays at a friend's house one time. You'll see that, everyone's got different ways of celebrating these things. Even though there's a lot of common elements to them, the details are often where things get a little different, and that's cool. That's awesome. One of my great memories from my past is the Thanksgiving I spent in Utah. I had no family there, and I couldn't afford to fly back out east to see my family. So a friend of mine invited me over for Thanksgiving dinner, and it was a really fun time, and it was really different. It was a bit of a culture shock for me because I've never experienced that before. I've never had a Thanksgiving dinner outside of my family. I don't know why, up until that point. So it was fun to see the traditions that they had, and some of them were pretty awesome. I loved them. You know, they did the old, I know this is a bit of a, it's not really their tradition, but it's a lot of people do this, the whole go around the table and say what you're thankful for thing, which I'd never done before, but it was cool to do, and it was cool to see what everyone's responses were to that query. Let's go into the sisters, right? I loved the dynamic that we got to see between the 4 Pie sisters. You know, you have Pinkie Pie, Limestone Pie, Marble Pie, and Maud Pie, of course. This dynamic between these sisters is really interesting. And in fact, you sort of see almost like personality issues with each of the 4 sisters, or mental issues, I don't know what you want to call them. You know, you have Pinkie Pie, who's obviously sometimes, at least in the past, has shown a bit of a tendency towards some bipolarness, you know, being super happy and super sad. You've got Limestone Pie, who obviously has some anger management issues and difficulty dealing with others. And then you have Marble Pie, who is a bit of a social anxiety disorder, you know? She doesn't really know how to deal with other ponies. They make her super shy, shyer even than Fluttershy, which to me was a bit surprising to see. It really reminded me of Fluttershy, but not a Fluttershy today. It reminded me of the Fluttershy from season 1. And it makes you realize real quickly how much character development has occurred for Fluttershy. So many people out there who hate Fluttershy don't really recognize the fact that she has developed. So many of them, their number one complaint is Fluttershy is the same now as she always was. Her big problem is she's shy. But that's not the case. I mean, she's developed quite a bit, and she used to be more like Marble Pie. She couldn't even introduce herself to Twilight Sparkle in the pilot, right? Now she's much more outgoing, she's much more forceful, and we see now in Marble Pie an example of what Fluttershy used to be. So social anxiety disorder, and then you have Maud Pie with the Asperger's going on or something. I don't really know. She's got obviously some issues too, dealing with people and emotion. Cool. So it's interesting to see that dynamic in the family, how they all relate together, and how the parents relate together, and how that interface directly with the Apple family. And the Apple family is much more emotional in general, it seems. The Pie family doesn't seem super emotional. You know, the way they speak and everything, we get the feeling that maybe they're sort of Amishy type people, or like a Pennsylvania Dutch country type group of people, especially with the way the parents used the informal thou all the time, which, by the way, I've got to give props to Confalone for that. He actually wrote the dialogue correctly and used the correct verb tenses. So often when people dip into thou and thee, especially in this fandom, when they try to do it for Luna, they don't know how to conjugate English verbs in that tense. Holy shit, it's not a tense either. It's a person, it's a subject, whatever. They don't know how to conjugate the verbs properly. They fuck it up every time. So it was great to see Confalone doing it right. And I've got to say, in actual show episodes, when Luna does it, it's done correctly too. Comic books and normal books, not so good, not so good. But at least we've obviously got better script editing on the show than in any of those media. The meeting between Mother and Father Pie and the way that they came together through some magical rock that put them together, you know, much like a Mooney wedding. You know, the rock said, hey, you two. And, you know, they got together. So cool, you know, and of course it does appear that they are in love, you know, and that sort of speaks, that's almost like some sort of subliminal message about arranged marriage, and how, you know, arranged marriages in many cultures actually are better chance of lasting, and they last for longer periods than marriages in our culture. And that's a whole nother debate we can get into. I'd rather pick my own spouse, but, you know, there's a lot of people who don't in the world, and it seems to work out for them, and it works out for the Pies, obviously. Let's see, we've got Holder's Boulder. That was an interesting touch, how they found it in some dragon's nest, and that brought the Pie family so much luck, and you really start to understand Limestone's obsession with it and how much she really wants to protect it, because it means everything to the family. It's a family heirloom, essentially, and it's the reason why their rock farm has persisted so long, or at least it's the reason why they think it has. So yeah, that was cool. That made sense logically. I also like Limestone Pie's cutie mark. The lime in the stones. Yeah, nice pun. She sort of reminded me a little bit of the fan-created character Tracy Cage. She's from the 4 Chains. I don't know if you've ever seen her. But yeah, that was sort of funny how angry she gets and everything. You know, if she did have a knife in her hoof, I could just imagine what would happen. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that, to be honest. And she did get really angry in this episode, didn't she? Okay. What else do we got? Maud Pie. Maud Pie. Yeah, she's shown. I love her character. I can't believe, too, Ingrid Nilsson, who voices Maud Pie, voiced all the Apple sisters. So she did the little utterances, I guess, of Marble Pie, and she also did the voice of Limestone Pie. Pretty cool. But Maud Pie was pretty awesome in this episode. She didn't have many lines, but the one at the train station, her first line's about if you think quartz was hard on the Moses hardness scale, wait until you see, I forget what the rock name was. I was watching it with the mayor friend, and she looks over at me and starts laughing. She's like, that's actually true, because that other rock she mentioned is a 9 on the scale, and quartz is a 7, so ha ha ha, it's a joke. It's a geology joke. It's a real geology joke. So yeah, obviously, writers are putting a lot of work into making jokes that the kids will still laugh at, because it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny. I don't really know what it means, but it seems kind of funny. But at the same time, most adults also would probably laugh at it and be like, haha, I don't really know what that means. But the few of people out there who are actually know a little bit something about earth science will be like, oh, yeah, I get that. So that's a cool feature. I love that. Also, the thing with Maud Pie wishing she were a rock. You know, we have Fluttershy wishing she were a tree. We have now Apple Bloom wishing she were an apple, and of course Maud wishes she were a rock. It makes sense in those terms. It's funny as hell. And then we had the poems by Maud Pie at the end. The hearth swarming carols. They were wonderful. You know, it was a repeat of the same joke, but when she's like, you know, the first one's about rocks. When I first saw the episode, right when I was seeing it, I couldn't help but saying they're all about rocks. And sure enough, I said it right along with Maud, so that was kind of funny. It was pretty predictable. I mean, come on, man. You gotta laugh at the ponies. You gotta laugh at the ponies. That's what we're here for, man. We're here to have fun. We're here to laugh at the ponies. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, it's a solid episode, I thought. You know, it's a little odd with the timing of it. A little odd that we're getting Christmas in October before even the Halloween episode is aired. What's that all about? I don't know. But still, fun time. Do I have anything else to say about the episode? Oh, planes, trains, and automobiles. I love that little homage to them on the train. The John Candy pony and the Steve Martin pony. Ah, yes. It reminded me of that movie. Holidays are coming up, guys. If you want to watch holiday movies, if you have a list of holiday movies, you should definitely put that one on your list. Check it out. It's a classic. It's hilarious up until the end, and then it hits you with a couple feels. But who doesn't like feels in a good holiday movie? Am I right? Or am I right? Oh, what else do we got? What else happened in the pony show? I don't know. Last week, hey? Cadence, pregnant? What? You know, I could say something real quick about that if you want. I mean, I wasn't wagering that they weren't going to do it, but guess what? They did it. Who would have known? I didn't guess it. Twilight's going to be an aunt. Or an aunt. However you pronounce it. That's cool. I love the ending when Twilight did get so excited. And I thought there's some really cute Twilight moments in that episode. This season has had a lot of good Twilight moments. After her being basically ignored in season 4. I think because the writers didn't really know how to handle her being an alicorn. And a princess. But now in season 5, she's had some awesome moments, and I think they've handled it so much better this season than they did last season. And there's not as much Applejack, even though there kind of is. But I like it. The balance this season seems a little better than in prior seasons. I'd love to see another great episode like Amending Fences before the finale, but who knows if we'll ever get that, am I right? Yeah. So anyway, let me show off some of my equipment here. That I've been recording with. Yeah, so I took this on a car ride. I was driving to the mayor friend's house. I said, why not try and record all this and see what I can get. Unfortunately, it turned out really horrible, like I said. But I've got these binaural microphones, if you see them. See, that's a windscreen there. That's too loud. I might have to pop the system sound down. And in order to record it, I had to have a little handheld recorder here. This is a Zoom H4n handy recorder. It's pretty neat. It's pretty nifty. The coolest thing about this is it has 2 XLR inputs on the bottom. It also has this thing on the back where this is plugged into, that red plug. That's basically, even though it looks like a normal 3.5 millimeter jack, that actually provides power. It provides some phantom power. Not the full phantom power that you get on an XLR connection. It's about like half that, or less than half that actually. But these microphones won't work without that little bit of power. So you can't use these on anything, unfortunately. You've got to have a specialty recorder. But the other cool thing about having this, though, is that I can now take this to conventions, and I can record panels and or other shit. You know, I can hook up an actual real Shure SM58 that I have straight in there and record portably and not have to have a computer with me, which is an awesome benefit and an awesome feature of that. So I'm very excited to get going on that. You know, maybe if I ever go to another convention, which I guess I probably will, I don't know. I was going to go to Nightmare Nights Dallas. Didn't work out. But it would have been cool to have gone. Yeah. So at this point, I feel like all I'm doing is just shit posting and filling in time and wasting your guys' time. And hopefully you've tuned out by now, because otherwise you'd be like bored out of your mind. You'd be like, God damn it. Why does this fat, fucking, cringy ass Brony still talking to me? And I'd be like, dude, I'm sorry, bro. It's a prank!